Venice has been known as the City of Lagoons for centuries, but the epithet Queen of the Adriatic has also been attached to it many times. At the mere mention of the city's name, St. Mark's Square filled with doves and tourists, the magnificent Doge's Palace, the black gondolas floating on the lagoons, the colorful carnival masks and brightly colored Murano glass immediately spring to mind. According to legend, Venice was founded on the 25th of April, 421, on the Remembrance Day of St. Mark, who later became the city's patron saint. Over the ages, more and more talented boatmen and merchants emerged among the inhabitants, who were initially engaged in fishing and salt distillation. These new skills stimulated development and precipitated an increase in population. For the sake of efficient lobbying and uniform protection against external attacks, the tribunes who independently governed the early settlements elected a common doge in 697, and thus began the 1,100-year-old history of the Republic of Venice. The city was becoming a sea power. Its trade relations had covered the Byzantine Empire and the Islamic world as well by the 9th century. Venice became an imperial power following the Crusades, which culminated in 1204 with the capture of Constantinople, consolidation of trade rights, the colonization of the islands of the Aegean Sea, including Crete. This golden age lasted until the 15th century, but in the next 200 years, Ottoman expansion, fires, and plagues broke the Republic, and by the end of the 1700s, it completely lost its former power. The entire city, known as La Dominante, has been listed as a World Heritage Site since 1987, along with its lagoon, and continues to enthrall visitors with its unique atmosphere, stunning architecture, and wealth of art treasures. In addition to its location, the integral unity of the Moorish, Byzantine, Gothic, Renaissance, Mannerist, and Baroque architectural monuments provides the unparalleled image of the city. At first, the wooden houses built on unstable soil were destroyed by huge fires, so stone and marble buildings replaced the destroyed ones from the 13th century onward. However, these much heavier construction materials demanded firm foundations, so a solution had to be worked out in order that the buildings of Venice would survive long-term. The many centuries-old technology has proved to be durable. The splendid city of the Middle Ages is still standing on thousands of large piles, placed next to each other that extend down to a depth of 8 meters into the sandy and clay layers of the seabed. This kind of wood does not rot under the water, so the majority of the pillars, despite the passage of time, are still intact. Due to this brilliant architectural accomplishment, among other things, Venice has preserved its medieval character, so we can enjoy its ancient atmosphere even today. The city's most famous public building is the Doge's Palace, but the office buildings built by Napoleon along St. Mark's Square are also worth mentioning, as well as the Customs House at the entrance of the Grand Canal, and the Fondaco dei Turchi, located on the left bank, which once served as the headquarters of Ottoman Turkish traders. Family palaces stand on the banks of the canals and on the squares. Their unique beauty is provided by not only their style, but also the decorative panels made of Istrian marble all over the walls, the mosaics and exterior frescoes, most of which, unfortunately, have almost completely peeled away over the centuries because of water vapor. The historical residential buildings of the rambling streets and many bourgeois houses still retain the pure characteristics of the Gothic style. But the former headquarters of fraternities and guilds, the so-called guild houses and schools, are also extraordinary. Churches, as the centers of religious life, preserve different architectural styles: Gothic, Byzantine, Moorish, Renaissance, and Baroque characteristics are all present on these shrines. Roughly 100 channels run through the downtown area. The two largest are the Giudecca Channel and the Grand Canal, which are the main means of transport as well. The smaller channels are called Rio. These are watercourses in the historical center of Venice, flowing between the islets with houses and the squares that were built over the centuries. The public domain of the city is connected by more than 400 bridges made of Istrian stone and brick. The wealth of art of the Golden Age of the former Republic of Venice are illustrated by the Grand Canal. This is the second largest waterway of the city, being 3 kilometers long and 4 to 5 meters deep on average, with 4 bridges across it. Among them, the most famous, the biggest and the oldest, is called Rialto. Originally, ill-fated wooden bridges stood in its place, which twice collapsed and once burned down. The current one, made of marble, was built between 1588 and 1592. More than 100 palaces and several churches are lined up on the 2 banks of the Grand Canal. These buildings of stunning beauty were built between the 13th and the 18th centuries, so elements of different styles are noticeable in them. While at first the Gothic, then the Byzantine styles were typical, later buildings with pointed arches bearing Moorish characteristics were created. In the 15th to 16th centuries, the Renaissance style dominated, and in the 17th century, the bright Baroque palaces became dominant. Worthy of its history and several centuries of tradition, Venice offers a variety of programs for its residents and visitors alike. One of the most outstanding and exciting of them is the historical Regatta, taking place on the first Sunday of September every year. A historical parade precedes the rowboat races, whose main attractions are the gondolas, the characteristic and romantic vehicles of the city, or rather their faster and more stable variant developed for racing called gondolini. The name of the gondola is probably derived from the Latin expression cimbula, meaning small boat. Its first written reference dates back to 1094. There were more than 10,000 gondolas in the Renaissance, and they long served as the only means of transport, especially for the wealthier class. In the beginning, the beautiful, luxurious gondolas were made according to the taste and budget of the boat owners, though their construction was kept strictly within bounds even then. Gondolas are handmade, composed of 280 pieces, using 8 different types of wood. Only the bow and the stern can be made of iron. The port side of the gondola is made longer than the starboard side. This asymmetry causes the gondola to resist the tendency to turn towards the left at the forward stroke. At the prow, there is a kind of comb with 6 teeth or prongs, standing for the 6 districts of Venice. The color of these special watercraft has been restricted to black since 1964, when an edict stated that every gondola should be painted black in order to reduce rivalry between noble families. From the late 19th century, when steamships and motorboats started to appear and other bridges were being built across the Grand Canal, the number of gondolas gradually decreased. There are only about 600 in active service today. Although nowadays these craft are used for hire by tourists, some Venetian families still have their own gondola. As Thomas Mann wrote so aptly in his novella Death in Venice, "Is there anyone but must repress a secret thrill on arriving in Venice for the first time, or returning thither after long absence, and stepping into a Venetian gondola? That singular conveyance, come down unchanged from ballad times, black as nothing else on earth except a coffin. What pictures it calls up of lawless, silent adventures in the plashing night, or even more, what visions of death itself, and solemn rites and last soundless voyage. And has anyone remarked that the seat in such a bark, the armchair lacquered in coffin black and dully black upholstered, is the softest, most luxurious, most relaxing seat in the world?" Being a marine city, it was essential for Venice for centuries to have qualified boatmen. Despite the fact that almost 120 different contests are held annually, the historical regatta is clearly the most important water festival of the year and comprises 2 different parts: the historical parade and the rowing boat races. The origin of the term regatta is unclear. Some think that it is derived from the noun riga, meaning line, while others think it comes from the verb arigare, meaning to compete. There are those who support a third possibility, that remigium, meaning to row, is the root of the word regatta, which now means rowing competition in almost every language. These boat races, accompanied by the world's most colorful procession on water, date back several hundred years. Though many records mention similar competitions, the exact date of the first is unknown. According to some sources, the first official tournament was held on the 10th of January, 1315. But others say that the first rowing competitions may have been held earlier, on the 16th of September, 1274. However, it seems certain that the rivalries between boatmen might have started much earlier, as the Venetians have always been sea people, so presumably they held various tests of strength and skill from the very beginning, either for their own entertainment or to develop their dexterity. One legend has it that even in the 10th century, peasants already competed with each other during vegetable deliveries to see who would reach the Rialto Bridge first. The reward of the winner was the best place in the market, and he could sell his goods at the best prices. The later arrivals had to adjust their places and prices to his. On the basis of another, more romantic explanation, the origin of the races was not to be found in vegetables, but Venetian maidens, as in 942, girls who reached the age of marriage were kidnapped by Dalmatian pirates and boatmen raced after them in pursuit. The magistrates of Venice began to urge boat races, and the Senate made an edict about the regulations of the Regatta in 1315. The first pictorial representation of the race comes from 1500, when Jacopo de Barbari immortalized the boatmen on his map between Lido and St. Mark's Square. According to the picture and period sources, the tournament was not held on the Grand Canal as it is today, but on the open lagoon. The tradition of the regatta lived on even after the fall of the Republic of Venice. The race was held in honor of Napoleon in 1807 and the Emperor of Austria, Francis I, in 1815. The story of the modern regatta started in the 19th century, with an edict from 1841. From that time on, the contest has no longer been funded by private individuals. Instead, public funds cover the costs. It was declared that the annual competition would take place on the Grand Canal, but it also limited the number of boats that could participate, and ordered that the gondolas must be uniform. For the sake of easier and clearer identification, the teams have distinguished themselves with their own colors since 1843. The current color scheme has been in use since 1892. After the Revolution of 1848, the tradition was broken for nearly 2 decades. The next regatta was held only in 1866, when Venice became part of the newly created Kingdom of Italy. From that day on, the purpose of the tournament has been to celebrate the glorious past of the Republic of Venice, commemorating the city's golden age and former reputation. The epithet historical was given to the festival in 1899 by the mayor Filippo Grimani, who also suggested that the water procession, which was first held in 1489, in honor of Caterina Cornaro, should be reenacted, planned on the basis of period drawings. The Queen of Cyprus, who was born in Venice, had abdicated after the death of her husband and returned to her homeland, thus handing over the administration of her country and the Mediterranean to the Republic of Venice. From this day on, she has been held in high reverence by Venetian people. The local residents received the Queen with the majestic splendor she deserved, and the spectacular events today commemorate her solemn entry. Though there were a few interruptions in the 20th century, the old tradition lived on. And now the annual historic regatta is in its heyday. In accordance with established traditions, the series of events taking place on the Grand Canal is made up of 2 distinct parts. It starts out with the colorful procession of boats, driven by oarmen, wearing medieval costumes, followed by the regatta itself, in various categories, with different Venetian rowers to take part in them. The traditional procession is headed by the bucintoro, a barge propelled by 20 oarsmen, symbolizing the Serenissima, that is to say, the Republic of Venice, with the Doge, the senators, the ambassadors, Caterina Cornaro, the delegation from Cyprus, and the urban nobility on deck. A bisona, a richly decorated 8-oared boat, is used for escort and only on special occasions. The colorful parade of the historical barges is followed by the real contest, as the regatta is made unique by the centuries-long rivalry of the islanders, the Vignetos, the Strighettos, the Rossis, and so on, who all come from big boating families. In typical Italian fashion, the rowers urge their teams loudly and cheerfully. During the competition, participants must perform different distances and have to pass through the control posts placed all over the channel. The starting point is indicated by the tightrope, called spaghetto, between the two parts. When the oarsmen reach the turning pole, called paletto, they go around it and back towards the finish line. This is in front of the macchina, the floating, gilded stage reserved for the authorities and built for announcements and award ceremonies in front of Ca' Foscari Palace. Nine teams compete with each other in every event. Their boats can be distinguished by the different colors and the numbers of their starting positions, which are decided by lot. The first race after the parade is for the youngest ones, called Maciarle, where children can compete in two categories, at the age of 12 and 14. This is followed by the 2-oared Puparini, that challenge the ability of promising teenagers. Then it's the women's turn, in the Mascherette. These are light 2-oared boats used in the old days by famous courtesans. The fourth race is the grandfather's race on heavy 6-oared Caroline. The climax of the Venice Regatta is the champion's race on 2-oared Gondolini, whose rowers have developed their skills to a level now considered art. In addition to the prize money, the teams taking the first 4 places will receive a traditional and symbolic flag. The winners are proudly rewarded red flags, the following 3 the white, green, and blue flags. The pair who are able to cross the line of Ca' Foscari first in 5 consecutive gondolini races earn the special title of King of the Oar. This prestigious award has been granted to only 7 competitors since 1841. When even the final race is over, the Grand Canal is actually swarmed by the various watercraft. Then the celebration continues on the streets and squares of Venice as well. A real carnival atmosphere overcomes the participants, and the audience, everybody, repeats the famous proverb of the gondoliers, "Only the stupid row for free," and also the Genoese.